Good morning, everybody, and happy May. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks and Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. I'm here with my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch. How are you today, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. Not as good as the Knicks, I guess. How could anyone be?
Knicks could have gone to sleep last night after halftime, and we'd have been all good. You and I could have played the second half.
Whoa. Keith, I didn't tell you that's what I did. I mean, at halftime, you know what the most entertaining part of the Knick game was, Keith? I guess we're hitting the ground running with this show.
Sure.
The most entertaining part was halftime when they had the studio with Shaq, Kenny Anderson, Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley had me in stitches. He said at halftime to the people watching the game, well, there's a pretty good hockey game on TNT if you want to see that. And he was telling the viewers, no need to stick around. This is boring at this point. There's no way back for Atlanta. They were down 47 points at the half. I never saw anything like it, Keith.
The Knicks are suddenly playing like the best team in the Eastern Conference. And now that can last until the next game. I understand that. But they're suddenly playing like the best team in the East. And I gotta say this, and I think it applies to the Nuggets series too, which we'll talk about in a second. Pretty sure the Hawks wanted to play the Knicks in this round. I'm pretty sure they positioned themselves to get the Knicks. And this is what you get.
Keith, I don't understand sports sometimes. The Hawks were arguably the best second half team in the NBA. I don't mean the best record-wise. I mean, they played the best. That's what I meant. Obviously, they weren't quite the best team. They played as well as anyone, you could say, the second half of the season. And they go up 2-1 against the Knicks, 2-1 in this series, and then get beaten badly 3 games in a row. It's like the switch got turned off. It was like Cinderella with the slipper or whatever. And last night, I mean, was it a case of the Knicks just putting it all together or the Hawks being that bad?
Well, OG
obviously, you're going to say it's a combination of the two.
Yes.
But I never saw anything like it. And the way the Knicks were looking, I'm watching on my couch, but they have me jumping off my couch, setting up those alley-oop passes.
The defense was tremendous.
Absolute clinic, the way the ball was moving around. This was more like a Harlem Globetrotter exhibition on the part of the Knicks.
They played defense very well They played defense really well, I think, the last half of this series, as you said, after they got themselves in that 2-1 deficit. And the Hawks were playing well. McCollum was just beating them the pants off them the fourth quarter every night. And he just disappeared the last couple of games for the Hawks. But you got to give the whole Knick team credit. Even Bridges played well last night. I don't know how much it was in garbage time, quite frankly, but he had a really good shooting night. OG was just absolutely out of his mind early in that game. He scored like 17 in the first quarter, I think. He was just tremendous.
And what got me about the Knicks, while they were up 30, 40, 50 points, they're hustling. They're diving for balls. They're playing as if the game is scoreless. Yeah. They weren't just going through the motions. I mean, they were really focused. That Knicks team of last night, I mean, the way they looked, they could have beaten anyone last night the way they looked because everyone was getting involved. There was ball movement. They were hustling on defense. They were scrambling.
The key is carrying that over, right? And they've had a habit of not carrying that over through the last several seasons, if you will, and always throwing stinkers in there. If they play like this, I mean, you're right. They could beat anybody in the NBA, but they don't play like this every night. And
but Keith, the playoffs now are kind of potentially out of whack.
They're way out of whack.
We thought going into the playoffs in the East, the big four would be the last four remaining. The Knicks would play the Celtics. The Pistons would play the Cavaliers. And it might still happen. But the Celtics are in a do-or-die situation with the Sixers tomorrow night at Game 7. Who would have ever thought when the Celtics swept 3-1, the Sixers would come back and win these 2 games, especially considering how decisively the Celtics won, a couple of those games.
Yep.
And they have a Game 7. the Pistons in Orlando, a game 6 with Orlando up 3-2. So if Orlando wins that series, which they have a good chance of winning, and if the Sixers win it in Boston, and I'm going to tell you something, you're right, Rick, to mention, Danny, the Sixers have that little momentum going against the Celtics.
Go to the Knicks.
The Celtics have to forget the Knicks momentum. That stops with the opening tip-off of the next game. They just have to play well. But right now, the Celtics are in a very unwanted game 7, and they better wake up because they didn't think there's any way the Sixers were going to take them to a game 7. And Joel Embiid is back.
Playing well.
Playing in top form. That's the scary part for the Celtics. Joel Embiid, Maxey, Edgecombe, Paul George. These guys want it. These guys are determined to knock the Celtics off.
Well, they said they're tired of losing to the Celtics, so this is their chance to really put a hurt in them. And the Celtics, look, I've said this, and this thing bit them in the ass, excuse my French, last year. You can't just sit there and rely on 3-pointers all night long. It's fine. You can shoot 28% from the field, from 3-point land like they did the last 2 games, but not when you're shooting 40 and 50 3-pointers a game. This is what's beating the Celtics, and it beat them last year against the Knicks. That's the only thing they rely on, it seems a lot of times.
Keith, I didn't even give this any thought. The Knicks and the Celtics in the same bracket. If the Celtics win tomorrow night, they play the Knicks in the next round.
So does
now, if the Sixers win, I guess it's the Knicks and the 76ers in the same bracket.
Correct.
Right. And I'm going to tell you something. The Sixers get by Boston in game 7. And don't count the Sixers out in this game. I'm going to go with Boston at home to wake up Tatum, Brown, and company. But if the Sixers win this game, and they're more than a long shot to win, and they have more than a so-called puncher's chance, the Sixers have a valid chance of winning in Boston. Sixers are capable of beating the Knicks. Can you imagine that scenario, Keith? We go away, we're caught on a desert island, we come back, we see the news, late June, Philadelphia 76ers, NBA champions. We would be flabbergasted.
There'd been a better chance of Joel Embiid retiring or I was going to say something else, actually, retiring than that happening and busting his team up. We're just talking about them breaking his team up a week ago.
We're talking about breaking it up. And I love the way Joel Embiid is playing the last couple of games. He is really determined. He's bought all in.
He didn't shoot well Wednesday night, particularly well, but he did everything else well. He rebounded. He had like 8 or 9 assists as well. So like really well.
Getting back to the Knicks game.
Yeah.
A couple of things happened. One I told you about when Jalen Brunson went diving into the crowd for the ball. It looked like someone could have gotten hurt. You have a kid sitting there. It is dangerous. I hate to be the safety expert over and over, and I know people laugh at me. Mac always used to laugh at me about this. Others used to comment and laugh at me. Someone will get seriously hurt. No one's going to be laughing at that.
I wouldn't laugh. I just don't know.
There's got to be some type of rule the NBA has to enact. I'm not sure exactly how to go about it, but something has to be done. The other was Mitch Robinson's fight. We're going to wait for the NBA to make a decision. Daniels is out of the playoffs for Atlanta. So any suspension is going to carry over into next season. But a regular season game is not nearly as important as a playoff game. So if you're going to suspend Daniels for, let's say, a game or 2 or whatever at the start of next season, that's the penalty Mitch Robinson should have. He shouldn't be suspended for the playoffs.
No,
and Daniels for the regular season game.
Yeah, this isn't the Heat and Knicks from years ago, right? When all these guys left the bench and got suspended. These guys were on the floor; they weren't off the bench. So.
No, but they were falling on top of coaches. Someone could have broken a leg, gotten seriously hurt, and they've got. Robinson was innocent in the beginning. He got an elbow, so he took offense to it. But when it gets out of hand, when you have people between you and you still keep trying to get at the other guy, and before you know it, other players, coaches are falling on the floor and you're falling on top of them. And you even saw the police at one point. I don't know whether that caught your eye. Atlanta's finest looked like they had to get involved at a certain point.
Well, because I think in those situations, everybody flashes back to the battles at the Palace, right? When the Pistons were and Pacers, I think it was, right? And they're up on the stands.
And they went into the stands. But yeah, exactly. You don't want a fan to come on the court. Then it becomes ugly.
That's why they have to get involved. And as far as the safety of fans and guys diving, I mean, I get your point. I just don't know what you can do except move the seats back. And, these guys are paying.
You might have to, or you enact a new rule. You make an out of bounds line. And if a player's hand passes that line, the ball can no longer be counted as being saved. Okay? Something to that effect. I don't know, Keith. I don't know the exact answer, but I do know that something has to be done because we see kids sitting in ringside. We see women there. And these players are physical specimens. Remember when Shaq used to dive into that? You imagine a big body like that sailing in the air? You mean that wouldn't scare the heck out of you, Keith, if Shaq's big body's coming into you?
Guys, LeBron's done a lot.
Keith, you would duck behind your wife and, maybe.
I throw her right in front. Yeah, I throw her right in front of right in the path. I wouldn't.
Come on, Keith.
It's every man for himself at that point, Jack. What are you going to do? Players, though, too, the players are trying not to hurt somebody, and they can get hurt doing that. So I get it. It's just I'm not sure what you can do. You can't put a plexiglass like you do in hockey, obviously.
No. You can't quite do that. You can't really put netting per se. Something's got to be done or figured out. And I'm sure something can be figured out in that regard because, like I said, and I'm not going to dwell on this any longer, and I'm going to try not to talk about it in any past shows unless someone does get hurt. But eventually, someone is going to get hurt badly. And then the NBA is going to do something about it, and I want to avoid someone getting injured.
Just for Danny's way, if I could find a way to.
I was talking about the Celtics in Philly.
We're going to get.
But Celtics, Celtics in trouble. Any team going to its seventh game is in trouble. But the problem with the Celtics is how up are they going to be for this 76er team? Because I don't think it's going to be. Hey, Linda, I have to mention Mac with the safety thing. I know he's looking down at me laughing. But the 76ers are not going to fold up in Game 7. I know a lot of people think the Celtics are going to just come out storming and they're going to take control and they're going to win by double-digit points. This Sixer team is going to fight them tooth and nail. The Sixers are a serious threat to win this Game 7. I'm going to go with the Celtics because it's on their home court. And home court means a lot in situations like this. In the Game 7, it does mean a lot.
Didn't the Sixers win Game 5 there?
Exactly. The Sixers have won 2 out of 3 games in Boston already. Mm-hmm. But by Game 7, everything on the line, it benefits them to do it. Like last night, Game 6 was in Minnesota. I know you're going to get to the Denver series, but if Minnesota was to lose Game 6, they dreaded having to go back to Denver for Game 7. So Game 6, they were playing as if it was a Game 7.
Fair. And Danny, I just want to point out, if I could find a way to fill 60 minutes with the Knick game, I probably would have done that. But Danny's got a problem.
I thought Danny saw the game. I mean, game was on ESPN, but I never saw anything like it. That was the largest halftime lead in playoff history. The Knicks took 47. And I'm thinking to myself, is there any way for the Hawks to win this game? And I'm laughing to myself. I'm saying, let's say the Hawks kick the Knicks' butt in the third period. They outscored them by 25 points. They'd still be down 22. The Knicks could have been playing terribly, but I love what Kenny Anderson said at halftime. He said the Knicks should take out all their starters, play their subs. That's what Charles Barkley first said. Kenny Anderson said, if your subs can't hold a 50-point lead, you've got real problems. Like, they should be kicked off the team. Can you imagine that? You blow it. Yeah, but leave it. It was actually 47 at the half, and the Hawks come back and make a run at you. That would be crazy.
I wish they didn't have to take a few days off and lose that momentum. And you know what? I don't want to fall in the same trap as the Hawks and the Nuggets did, picking my opponent. But I don't know that I want to play the 76ers, quite frankly. I'm not sure I do.
Well, they play Monday night. The NBA is not baseball. Long layoffs in baseball affect the team. If you don't play for 7 to 10 games, it doesn't affect you the same way in basketball. It helps to have the time off. These guys are resting up. They're resting up. They need that degree of rest.
They're also used to having a lot of time between games for the most part. 3-4 days sometimes. So,
and during the course of a season, Keith, these guys are nursing, injuries, maybe minor injuries. They're nursing those and they're playing with those to a degree.
So since we're staying on the Celtics. We're both picking the Celtics Sunday, correct? Or tomorrow?
Yeah, but I'm not picking them in the sense that I normally would. Oh, Game 7 at Boston. Boston's going to blow them out. Boston's the better team. I'm not sure Boston is the better team at this point 50-50. Because you have Joel Embiid playing at the top of his game the last 2 games. And if Joel Embiid shows up in top form, look, the Celtics 1-2 punches Tatum and Brown.
Yep.
Embiid and Maxey matched that. They matched that.
Let's focus on Embiid for 1 second, because Embiid's gotten beat up over the years, right? Not winning championships, not beating the Celtics. This would be huge for him. And I think him coming back, he could have easily, with his situation in Philadelphia in general, and the emergency surgery that he had, he could have easily said, I'm just packing it in. I mean, I think you got to give him some credit for sucking it up and coming back and not just playing, but playing very, very well. So Joel Embiid, this could be a career-defining moment for him in this playoffs. Possibly.
It could, but bottom line is Joel Embiid's never been to a final.
Right.
At some point, Joel Embiid is going to need to win an NBA championship to elevate his status. He's going to need to. And the problem with being on the Sixers all this time, the Sixers were kind of like a mid-range team, good enough to be a playoff team, but not pose a serious threat to win the NBA championship, even though a little while back they lost to the Atlanta Hawks that year. They were more of a serious threat. They were a serious threat maybe a couple of years. I shouldn't say that.
They were a serious threat when they had Jimmy Butler. They
were at that point. I take back what I said. The early part of the career of Joel Embiid, they were a threat. And then that window seemed to close in part because of Embiid himself with all the injuries he had. This year, no one took the Sixers title hope seriously. We thought, they'll be a decent team, good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not the team to look out for to come out of the East. But now they very well could be if they get by the Celtics. You got to give them a real shot at beating the Knicks and going from there. I'm not saying they would. I still think when all is said and done, the Knicks are going to come out of the East.
It would be shocking. And I guess let's stay the East for a second. The Pistons won, obviously, a must-win game the other night against the Magic. And the Magic have played very well. They'll play tonight, if I'm not mistaken, Game 6. And again, another must-win for the Pistons. I know Wagner's
out. Yeah,
Wagner's out for the Magic, which is a big deal. You see the Pistons coming back and winning this series or not?
Pistons were given a tough time in Detroit. Game 5, they had control of the game. They had the lead throughout, but Orlando hung in. Orlando could lose Game 6 at home and win a Game 7 in Detroit. Orlando's not one of these road places that's overly hard to win at. I mean, every NBA team has a rabid fan base. I get that. But the way the Pistons have been struggling, even if they win the next two games, they're just not playing as well as they did early in the year. I wouldn't look at them as being favorites per se. And, Duran, he has to step up a little. He did in game 5 to a degree. Kate Cunningham is 45 points. He was phenomenal. But you can count on Kate Cunningham to carry that team.
Yeah. When they don't turn the ball over, they're a different team, like anybody. But they cut their turnovers about in half the other night, which is a big factor.
Yeah, they played much better.
I just think they win these next two games. I think the Pistons survive and will play. They may play your Cavaliers. I'm believing the Cavaliers will win.
Cavaliers more likely than not going to win this series. They're up 3-2. Things look bad for a while. They were trailing Toronto at home for a good part of that game, and then they finally put a spurt together, and to control of the game. There's a good chance Toronto wins game 6 and forces a game 7 at Cleveland. Now, at this moment, that's my feeling that Toronto is going to win tonight and force a game 7 that Cleveland's going to have to win at home. You kind of wonder about the storyline of some of these players. We were talking about Embiid. What's his storyline going to be if he gets eliminated again? I mean, when is he finally going to break through? The same with James Harden. Perennial playoff flap. When if Harden's career ended today, he'd be a Hall of Famer. He'd get elected to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he would.
But we would think of him as James Harden, also the guy who didn't play up to expectations in the playoffs, and that's being kind. Some people would call him a playoff flop. So Harden has to break through at some point in his career. And if he doesn't do it this year, I mean, what better opportunity? He has Donovan Mitchell next to him. And now the question could be asked, are we overrating Donovan Mitchell by a little bit if they don't go to the next round?
I think Donovan Mitchell gets overrated anyway. He's a fine player, but I don't think he's one of the elite players in the game. He's a good scorer, but I don't know how much more he gives you than that. And he's the guy here. Here's the thing. James Harden plays better as second fiddle, but he still doesn't win. You talked about his best chance. His best chance was with Brooklyn 2 years ago. And if not for Kevin Durant's foot being on the line, they may have.
Well, he had a hamstring. He was out at that point. The hamstring. Well, he had a great season, Harden.
That's my bad. I forgot about that series. So Kevin Durant.
But you look at some players stepping up. Now, a player who you put down a lot, Keith, and others. And I've always been high on him. But I expected a little more out of him like you guys did. But I didn't give up on him. Rudy Gobert. He showed up. He answered the bell against Jokic, one of the all-time great players, because Rudy Gobert took tremendous pride in his defense. And in the voting, they had him fourth as Defensive Player of the Year. And he says, you really think that? I'll show you with more than words. He answered the bell. What a job he did for the Minnesota Timberwolves in their series in beating the Denver Nuggets.
I will give Rudy Gobert lots of credit right now because I have run him down. I've said he's soft, and he played the best, in my mind, still arguably the best player in the NBA, and took it to him, and took the.
That I got to give you credit, Keith. That hurts you to say that. Yeah, you look in pain, but
I love Jokic.
I won't be convinced. I won't be convinced that you're open-minded as a rehabilitated man until you give Aaron Boone full credit for the job he's doing as Yankee manager. When you do that, I'll say that you're finally rehabilitated.
Not to change the subject, but Boone had a good April. This is a good job by Boone to get him to. And
guys who you've maligned are having, had a good last few weeks or whatever.
He had a good April with all the injuries for sure. Let's see.
But Gobert answered the bell. Great thing. Jokic had his meltdowns as far as sportsmanship. He showed it again last night. How did he show it last night? I don't get it quite.
Well, he got into it a little bit again. Well, I don't know exactly what he's referring to. I know 2 games ago he got into it.
At the end of the game. Well, yeah.
And Danny, maybe you can elaborate a little bit. I know he did say, this team isn't good enough to win. He did talk about his own.
Yeah, I mean, he's being honest. They were long in the tooth. I know you picked them, but which wasn't a bad pick. I didn't I picked the Timberwolves to win the series, but I'll be honest, when Anthony Edwards went out, went, wow. Now, I'm not sure who's going to win this series. No Anthony Edwards. But but I'm going to tell you, what hurts if you're Minnesota, if they had Anthony Edwards, they'd have a serious chance of coming out of the West. They still do. I wouldn't count the Timberwolves out. The Timberwolves might be the type of team that could be just as effective, at least in the short term, meaning a playoff scenario, is the Memphis Grizzlies. Well, when Jay Morant was out, remember when Jay Morant was out, the team was actually better without Jay Morant.
Well,
and you kind of wonder whether this team, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Gobert could be better, but DiVincenzo's out too. And Edwards is out. And DiVincenzo, even though he started for them, he could be great as a sixth man. And Edwards obviously is a high impact player, a star. And missing those two guys, it's got to catch up to you eventually.
This is also a place for another guy who's been run down for his playoff performances, Julius Randle, to step up and maybe show a little bit of his.
But the problem's this: Randle is a heck of a player. He's a great number two option. But if you have to count on Julius Randle to carry the team as the number one option throughout the whole playoffs, I mean, it doesn't look that good. No disrespect to Randle. He's a heck of a player. That was one of the great trades, with DiVincenzo and Randle going to the Timberwolves for Karl Anthony Towns. Because if you ask both teams, if you can undo the trade, neither one will want to undo the trade.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Things as is, and that's the type of trade I like, where both teams are beneficiaries.
And quite frankly, I wasn't crazy about that trade when it happened, but it's turned out to be very good. And Danny kind of says that he didn't have an incident where he pushed.
Well, I'm going to tell you what bothers me, Danny, about Jokic. You look at him and you wonder his commitment. Is he getting by on talent? He just doesn't look to be supremely conditioned. And no one is calling him out on it because his numbers are good. Even last night, he had good numbers, but he's not being as much of a dominant factor as he should be. And another thing, too, Jokic has one NBA championship to his credit. That's always going to stay. He's always going to be a champion.
That's fair.
So we got that out of the way. He's never been to a finals otherwise. And you wonder, if a player is an all-time great like that, shouldn't he have, been to at least one or two more finals?
Well, it's also an organization that's only won one championship. So, I mean, it's not like he's playing for the Celtics. It's not like he's playing for the 76ers.
He has good players around him, though. He's had good players.
I'm not saying he didn't, but this team historically is not a, NBA championship, in the NBA championship round year after year, and he's losing. So again, I don't think it follows him around. I don't think it will, because he wins one in Denver. It's different than winning one in New York.
Listen, if he never won one, then it's a little more of an issue. I mean, this is how it is in sports. Aaron Rodgers, his teams have flopped in the playoffs, but he did win one Super Bowl. If he didn't win that one Super Bowl, that's all we'd be talking about, him never winning a Super Bowl. But because he has, it gives you a gold pass. In the same way Jokic with Denver, he did win an NBA title.
One guy I have a little bit of a problem with on the Wolves was the coach a little bit, because he's been harping on the fact, again, I said the Hawks wanted to play the Knicks, and they played their way to play the Knicks because they lost at the end of the season, so they'd match up with the Knicks. The Nuggets, Finch is going on that they wanted to play, and they set themselves up to play the Timberwolves that didn't respect them. Well, they were on a 14-game winning streak. They would have had to throw games too. They didn't throw games to play Minnesota. They were winning games to play Minnesota, and I see it totally different than I see the Hawks lining themselves up to play the Knicks. And I get the coaches.
I don't know. Teams might do that the last few games of the year. That does go on.
But Finch uses this as motivation. He's used this as motivation.
Quinn Snyder. Do you see the way he's dressed, Keith? It throws me up. Either wear suit and tie or wear a more, catchy outfit or something.
Well,
The
he's
way
kind
he's
of.
dressed and the way he's looking, something about Quinn Snyder, it looked a little creepy to me.
You know what it is? Quinn Snyder's forgetting he's 60 years old now. He thinks he's still 30, and he goes out there with the long wavy hair, and he does. He is
coach,
starting to get a weird look.
He's a darn good coach. Regardless of what happened the last 3 games. Last night, did you see the Hawk bench? They were shell-shocked.
Yeah,
they're looking. There was no plan. It's like they forgot how to play basketball.
Yeah.
It's like they forgot. If I were Quinn Snyder, what I would have done when all their starters in the days playing terribly, I would have come in with the second unit, sat down the starters and chewed them out. You guys ready to play some serious ball? They were like in a trance.
What do you say to your team at halftime when you're down by 47? See you on the golf course tomorrow morning.
They started doing, Keith, in the second period. They were hoisting up these 3-pointers. That's all they were trying to do because they were down so much.
Yeah.
Maybe the coaches told them we're playing the math game. Any chance of a miracle comeback, we have to just take 3-point shot after 3-point shot. And when you're down that much, all you can do is play the darn game. The game's basically over at that point.
Right.
How do you blow a 47-point lead? For that to happen, you've got to, at least in the third, period, outscore the other team by 20 points. And then even then you're down 27. And then you start to chip away and then hope with, 3 minutes left, you're down only 10 points and maybe something strange could happen.
And he went to the hockey game.
Charles Barkley. Yeah, Charles Barkley was funny. Charles Barkley's a hockey fan, by the way. And he said, well, there's a good hockey game on TNT.
Well,
Charles Barkley can get away with that. And ESPN, he's not going to get fired. But if it was a lesser voice, if I was working for ESPN, Keith, and if they were crazy enough to hire us in the studio and we said there's a good hockey game on TNT to turn to, we get fired.
I wouldn't make it a week there anyway, so it wouldn't matter what happened. We haven't talked about one series yet, and that is 3-2 Lakers. They played tonight against the Rockets. KD's still out. KD's still out. The Rockets have come back and played gamely to win these last couple of games.
This is sticky. I think the Lakers are going to win tonight. If they don't, I think they're going to win a game 7. I think the Lakers will find a way to get it done. Austin Reeves came back for game 5. He shot miserably.
Yeah.
You wonder about the chemistry. Is it messing it up coming back from an injury? But obviously you have to play Austin Reeves. When he comes back, you're not going to put him on the bench.
I think him being back, though, does help LeBron, because I think LeBron, before Luka and Reeves got hurt, LeBron had really settled into his role kind of as the third guy and just doing his job, right? And I think he was asked to do so much early in the series. He's had two really not good games in a row. And again, he's 40. Is he 41 or is he 40?
He's
Whatever.
had to carry the team, LeBron. He's had to be
that now, though.
With those guys out, Reeves and Luka, LeBron really was the number one scoring option.
Yeah.
He had to play point guard as well on top of it. He had a ton of responsibility. But I'm going to tell you, LeBron is into the legacy. LeBron is into the legacy thing. And if they blow a 4-0 lead, people are going to point, well, historically, they're going to say it's LeBron's team. It always drives me crazy the way people sometimes knock LeBron for being 4-6 in NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And they say Jordan is 6-0. LeBron's teams, some of them had no business getting to the finals. The only reason they won the darn finals was because of LeBron's Herculean efforts.
Well,
so when they lose in the finals, don't hold it against LeBron. Jordan is 6-0 in the finals. because at times he wasn't good enough to get his team to the finals where they would have, had some losses there. Don't hold it against LeBron, the losses in the finals. What happens if his teams didn't get to the finals the 6 years they lost? We'd say, oh, LeBron is 4-0 in the finals, pretty close to being similar to Jordan. See, they're holding it against LeBron for getting his team to the ultimate round in the playoffs.
I'm never going to get on LeBron for the only thing I get on LeBron for is some of the stuff off the court, never on the court. He's a great player in his own right and doesn't have anything to apologize for.
No, I'm fascinated by this thing going on with him and Stephen A. Smith, though. That the banter's going back and forth, and it's Stephen A. says there've been something like 5,400 guys who've played in NBA history, and I have LeBron as the second best of them all. So how am I insulting him? But and even LeBron brought up the argument the other day about the GOAT status. Him and Jordan, and he was diplomatic, LeBron. He didn't say anything controversial, even though people would have looked between the lines. Was anything controversial there? Saying they had different games, which they do, and he admits, LeBron, look, it looks like I always come off second best in people's minds, but we had different games, and that's the truth.
You can
Jordan was a greater player. Jordan was a greater player than LeBron, but LeBron was a better player than Jordan. That's the way I look at it. LeBron had more of an overall game than Jordan. He did more things well, greater than Jordan did, but Jordan was greater, a little more so as a force.
He also had the greatest coach in NBA history, and he also was surrounded for most of his career by better players than LeBron, I would argue as well. Not to take anything away from the guys he's playing with now.
LeBron's teams underachieved at Miami. They did. They underachieved. They went to the finals all 4 years, won 2 championships. They kind of underachieved a little bit. He overachieved at Cleveland. I thought underachieved a little at Miami.
Even in Miami, even in Miami, though, I can make an argument that because of the money they spent on their big three, they had the rest of that team was not very good in my mind. I mean, so for those 3 guys to accomplish what they did, and they did win a championship. It's not like they didn't win anything.
And Ray Allen, the Hall of Fame, is the 4th guy, and
way past
Ray Allen.
Way past his prime.
Yeah, but you could look at the other well, listen, they should have beaten Dallas. They were lucky. They just got by San Antonio, winning one of the series. But his run at Miami, they were expected to be dominant. Maybe we overrated their chances a little when he first went there. But there was success. What he did at Cleveland, delivering them a championship, was one of the great performances ever, to lift the team like that.
3-0 down? Amazing.
3-1.
No, there's 3-0. Was it 3-1?
It was 3-1, yeah.
Still
3-1. And they beat a 73-win record-setting team in the Warriors. And games 5 and 7 were, on Golden State's court.
So 3 games tonight. I guess we pretty much covered our bases here. We expect. I'll tell you who I expect to win. So they're not game 7s. I think the Lakers and Rockets. Since we're on it, I think Rockets win tonight, and Lakers will pray in game 7. I like Cleveland to wrap it up tonight, and I like the Magic to win tonight and wrap that series up too.
Yeah, I like the Magic tonight to wrap the series up. I'll go with Toronto to force a game 7 at Cleveland, where I'll pick Cleveland to win that game. And Houston at LA. Man, oh man, oh man. I'm going to. Man, are they destined for 7th game? I'm going to go with the Lakers to win that game, that they'll get it straightened out and they'll eke out a close win.
Fair. Going to be a fun weekend. It's been a good first round, except for, only 2 series were really out of hand. It's been a fun first round of the playoffs, which we don't always get. You get 1 or 2, but not, 6 really good series. So lots of fun here. let's pivot to some baseball for a second. April's over. The time to say 20% of the season's been played. It's getting late early, as
Yeah.
you used to say. The Mets finished with one of their worst Aprils, I've got to believe, ever, 10 and 21. And the Yankees, in contrast, to focus on these two for a second, 20 and 11. I'll give Aaron Boone credit. I didn't say much when you brought it up a minute ago because we were in the middle of basketball, but I'll give Aaron Boone credit for them being 20 and 11. If you told me in April that we knew we were going to be without Cole, we were without with a Rondon, who I'm not crazy about, but still they still miss, without Volpe, because Caballero is a nice player, but he shouldn't be playing shortstop every day. If you told me they would be 20 and 11 and the bottom of the order would be hitting about 100, I'd have said they'd be 11 and 20. I would have said.
But Caballero at shortstop, after a slow start at the plate, has really come on.
Can't
he's
be
hitting well. And defensively, he's been adequate. He's been okay. But Anthony Volpe is due back, and the Yankees are going to have a big decision to make Volpe the full-time shortstop or not. We'll see what Caballero does these coming games, because if Caballero has a hot hand at the plate, it's going to be hard to ease Volpe back in.
I might play one of those guys at third base from time to time as well, because there's a hole over there the size
McMahon's hitting has been dreadful, but then again, you have Ahmed Rosario who could fill in at third base, who's been hitting, has been okay with the bat this year, has been adequate in the field. But the good thing about the Yankees, they can mix and match these guys. Think of all these options, and they have George Lombard, shortstop down at the minors, who might get called up this year.
They moved to AAA here this week, George Lombard.
Yeah. So there are options there. The one thing about the Yankees that bothers me a little bit, their bullpen is barely passable. It's okay, but I'm a little concerned because I'm not completely sold on Bednar as a closer. He's been okay, Bednar. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a lights-out closer. And I know he was spoiled with Mariano Rivera all these years, and I'm not asking for the next Mariano. I'm just asking for a legitimate closer, along the lines of Edwin Diaz when he was with the Mets, who went to the Dodgers, someone like him. And they don't quite have that. I like Tim Hill in middle relief. The other guys are okay in middle relief, okay. But I'm a little nervous. Their starting pitching is lights out when you consider that Cole and Rondon are coming back, joining Max Fried, Cam Schlitter. Schlitter's been phenomenal, and Max Fried too. Those are two aces.
Yeah.
And Cole is an ace if he's healthy in form, and Rondon is an all-star caliber pitcher.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, that's the starting pitching is great. And their fifth starters with Warren are fine, too.
And we would expect Cole to get Rondon will be back, I think, before Cole. He may be back in a week or so. Cole mid-month at best. They expect to use the full 30 days and maybe longer in the minor league rehab with him. So, but there's no reason to rush him back either now. With the way these guys are pitching at starters, as you said, there's no reason to rush him. And I think Lombard, I think he will get called up, and either him or Volpe be playing third base. I think they'll be playing together come summer, July.
Well, we'll see how the other guys are panning out. Look, ideally, the Yankees would like McMahon to start hitting and let him be the regular third baseman, because he has a better glove than the other guys at third base. But he's been an automatic out a lot of the time, and you just can't carry a guy like that.
It's been too long. He hasn't hit. I like this guy. When he was in Colorado, I thought he was going to be a great hitter, and he hasn't hit in like 4 years. There's no reason to think he's going to start hitting now. So
yeah,
his glove can't.
I like that line. That reminds me of the Abbott Costello line. You sit McMahon down. You tell him you can't be the everyday third baseman, and you tell him, look, I can put up with if you haven't hit for 3 weeks or even 3 months, but you haven't hit for 3 years.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. The Yankees, again, they're sitting okay. And again, I didn't get a chance to finish my comment, I don't think, before. Aaron Boone has done a very, very, very good job here, with a couple of exceptions.
He's off the hot seat for you for now.
Until next week. Yeah, we'll talk again. Monday.
Until the first losing streak happens. But I'm going to say this about teams that are underachieving, obviously, like the Mets and so on. There is the wild card. We look at the standings and we see how far back some of these teams are, and we think, oh boy, this team is in bad trouble. And they are in some trouble. I'm not denying that. I agree with you. I'm not going with the line, well, it's early yet, because I don't go for that line. It's not early anymore. You got to start winning now and putting it together.
In the middle of April, that's fine. You can say that.
You do have the wild card. So, and a lot of times teams that win the World Series go through the wild card, scenario to get there.
Well, that's what the Mets better hope for, because they're about 12 games out of first place or something right now, because the Braves.
I think the Mets will be fine by the end of the season. I know they've been dreadful now. They've been dysfunctional. The pieces don't seem to fit right at this moment, but I kind of feel they will get it together. There's too much talent on that team for them to keep playing the way they're playing. But then again, maybe I'm being over-optimistic. Marcus Semien, you just wonder, he's not hitting. And yesterday against the Nationals was a perfect case. He leads off the ninth inning. The Mets are 1 run down. The count is 2-0. So he swings at a pitch out of the strike zone. And now it's 2-1. And if he took that pitch, it would have been 3-0 the count. And he's the leadoff hit, and you're 1 run down. And then on the next play, he grounds out. Next pitch, he grounds out. Things like that drive you crazy.
Yeah, I think the manager's got this weekend to figure things out, and he's going to get fired if they don't take 2 out of 3 against the Angels. I think he's going to get fired.
I hope Mendoza doesn't get fired. Things like that could work out short term. It doesn't really affect you in the long term. I mean, the Red Sox.
Two teams are basically the same record, gone. Their manager's gone. Cora and Rob Thompson fired this week, obviously. So don't wait.
But look how successful Cora and Rob Thompson have been in the past. I mean, Cora would have been hired by the Philadelphia Phillies as soon as he was fired. The Phillies were going to hire Dave Dombrowski, the GM, talk to Cora. Cora wanted the time off with his family. Cora's in a good spot. You want to know why? They fired him early this season. So he's getting paid all this season, and next season he's getting paid for all that season. So if I'm Alex Cora, I might get back into baseball, in a couple of years, when the paychecks stop. But then again, if you're Alex Cora, if you get used to the easy life, not having to travel, being home, this and that, and you could just do a little broadcasting to keep close to the game. Some guys do that. Look at Bill Cowher. He never got back into coaching when he could.
Well, Cora made me look bad, because I told you on Monday that he'd be managing the Phillies, and he made me look bad when he said no.
Well, that's his option, to say no. He wasn't mentally ready to get back into it. As soon as the Red Sox let him go. What does he know about the Phillies? That's a culture shock. Could you imagine in the dugout with the Philly uniform? You have to get to learn these guys. You got to be mentally ready. And look, if Cora was unemployed, there was no paycheck coming in. Yeah, maybe he has to take the job out of necessity. But I believe Cora really did want to spend time with his family.
It does open up the job. It did open up the job for Donnie Baseball to get, even at an interim basis. He's got a chance to make this job his own if he wants the job. Is another question.
And I know you're high on Donnie, but let's be honest about it. Donnie has been a so-so manager, to put it politely. The Dodgers.
Where were the great teams? They weren't
took
great.
them to the playoffs 3 years. I understand that. But the Dodgers, they didn't overachieve with Donnie. Let's put it that way. They didn't.
These aren't the $billion Dodgers we're looking at today.
They won a World Series a couple of years later after he left. Miami Marlins, they had some success. He was National League Manager of the Year 1 year. They had a degree of success, but he was so there. Donnie didn't elevate any of those teams, where they would overachieve beyond their personnel, not even close. But Donnie's likable. Donnie's loved. I'm not a Philly fan, but I can't help but root for Donnie baseball. I want to see him do well.
Pretty sure this is the first father-son combination. His son Preston is the GM. I think it's the first one in baseball history. So
I didn't like to look at that because it's Donnie Mattingly, and he's loved by everyone. No one criticizes the move. Rob Thompson, who is loyal to Donnie, supposedly from their days in the Yankees, welcomed Donnie to be a bench coach. Now Thompson gets fired.
He didn't campaign for his job.
No, he didn't campaign. But I kind of wonder, should Donnie have said to his son, I can't believe his son didn't have any talks with him beforehand. Would you take the job? And Donnie could have said, no, I'm not going to take the job. It'll make me look bad. You, the GM. Or he could have said, I like Rob Thompson a lot. It would be a big mistake firing him. Unless Dave Dombrowski put the pressure on.
Well,
I don't know what went on behind the scenes.
Nobody gets this job without Dombrowski saying okay. So it's really Dombrowski's call.
And in all fairness, Alex Cora could have had the job ahead of Donnie.
Exactly. So I have no problem with that. By the way, they had to talk him into being the bench coach. He didn't want to come back. He left Toronto voluntarily, and he was going to be done with baseball in his mind. And I think his son had some played a role in talking his father into coming back, and probably Rob Thompson did as well. To your point, listen, I think Rob Thompson gets a bad deal here. I love Ron Thompson. I think he's a very good manager, and I've said forever he should have got at least an interview when Girardi got fired and my favorite manager got hired.
So they're firing Rob Thompson, the guy with a good track record, based on 20% of the season, a bad 20% of the season.
I wouldn't have fired Rob.
Firing him. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
There's situations where you should fire your manager if he's lost the team. That isn't the case, I don't think, in Rob Thompson's case. It certainly wasn't the case in Alex Cora's case. I think that was a power struggle between him.
Mendoza with the Mets. I don't think he's lost the team. No, I thought they're just not playing well. And if you look at the Mets off-season moves, they let Pete Alonso and Nemo go. And trade Alonso free agent, Nemo in a trade. Nemo's been okay. The Simeon deal isn't looking good now, but you figure short term the Simeon deal was good, and maybe long term because Nemo was getting paid a little over $20 million a year, and you got rid of the last 5 years or so of that salary.
Well, they're lucky not playing well.
That was a good move to get rid of that salary, but Alonso.
For a guy who can't play anymore, though, Jack, you gave him up basically for nothing because Marcus Semien can't play anymore.
Well, we didn't know that. We thought Semien maybe would have something left a year or two. And if the Mets are contenders, a second baseman, he would shore up the defense. Well, and Alonso has been dreadful this year so far. That's slipped under the radar.
David Stern is lucky. He's lucky that
198 Alonso is batting average. But Alonso's going to break out. He's going to break out.
If he'd been lighting up, David Stern's being a lot more heat than he's getting.
Exactly. If the Orioles were the hottest team in baseball and Alonso was lighting it up, wow, that would look bad.
And I really think, and I don't think Mendoza ought to get fired either, quite frankly, because he didn't put this team together. Stearns did. But if they don't straighten it out this weekend or maybe the next week, Stearns is going to be looking for cover. And the only thing he can do is fire his manager. He's not going to fire himself.
Devin Williams is Met closer.
Told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
But David Stearns remembers him when he was a GM at Milwaukee, when he pitched for him, where he was outstanding at that point. Maybe Devin Williams gets this together again. Look, if you recall, even Edwin Diaz, he had one dreadful season and he got it together again. It does happen.
Now either. Not pitching
As long
great.
as the guy's arm is sound.
Yeah, but
Wouldn't you love to see a team take a fly on Trevor Bauer?
Say that again?
A team take a fly on Trevor Bauer, nothing to lose.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I think
You don't want a team. You don't want him on your team because you don't like his personality. Yet you'd be patting Mike Grable on the back, Keith, your Patriot coach. You're a character guy, Keith. What? You're big on character.
Seriously, two totally different circumstances, by the way. Mike Grable did a bad thing, and Mike Grable lied. But Mike Grable isn't Trevor Bauer bad. Please, come on, let's stop. I don't think,
but second chances if a guy is out, whatever.
Second chances. This would be like his third and fourth chance, man. He's been all over the freaking major leagues.
He hasn't had a chance for a while in the big leagues.
Fair.
If he's been behaving himself in the lower level leagues, I mean, he's going to behave himself as a big leaguer.
All I'm telling you is I don't think anybody will bring him back. I don't think
so either.
On my team, somebody else could bring him back. And if he did well and kept his nose clean, then I'd say good for you. I would. I'm not going to hold. It's like, look at the worst charges against him and the worst accusations against him have proven to have been pretty much made up. It doesn't mean he's not a bad guy. He just didn't do it as bad things as we thought he did. So,
yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't think it's fair to Mike Vrabel to put him in the same sentence with Trevor Bauer.
No. That's different situation, different person, different responsibility.
Yes, I knew you were going to get Vrabel in there today. Nice job, though. But
it's all laughable with Vrabel.
Again, you're right.
In his own words, it's all laughable. So I'll have a lot of laughs about it.
It's fair. Again, I didn't necessarily defend Mike Vrabel at the beginning of this. I said I need to see more, and I saw more, and I found.
Can I tell you something? With all this talk about doing it for his family, Bill Walsh never got back into coaching. You know why he never got back into coaching? Because he was taking care of his wife all those years. He was a consultant for the 49ers. He was very involved, but he only do it within limits. He couldn't dedicate all his time to the coaching job. There's a guy who did it for his family, a very honorable guy. Mike Grable takes, 2 days off to go into counseling, and then he's back and everything. Oh, he's had his counseling session saying, oh, I'm doing it for my family, who's number one.
Bill Walsh didn't leave the 49ers and fade into the sunset, by the way. He went and coached Stanford for 3 years, too, afterwards. Let's not forget.
No, but in the later years when he could have come back to the Niners, he didn't do it.
Again, I'm not going to defend Mike Vrabel, the man. I'll defend Mike Vrabel, the coach. He's a great coach. And
he is. And I'll agree with that. He's an outstanding coach.
This is another example, and I say this all the time. I didn't coin the phrase. It's never the crime. It's the cover up afterwards that gets you in trouble, right? Just come clean, and this would be over.
Well,
it just came clean.
It was hard for Grable to come clean because there was another person involved, and he didn't want to sell her out, Diana Rossini. He still doesn't want to. That's why he's not getting into specifics, because he can't, for her sake. He's kind of looking out for her as well. He's kind of tap dancing. But look, if he was sincere about things, if he was sincere about his marriage, he'd say what we did was completely improper. I'm sorry, Diana. And they shut off all business with her.
Yeah.
Completely, 100%. But, he's tap dancing all over the place.
She's not in this either, from the stuff that's starting to creep out about her through the years. So this isn't her first ride on the merry-go-round, it would appear. So
it's unfortunate, all of this.
It is unfortunate. Both married people, but now it's between them and their spouses. That's all it should be.
But it's news. It's news because it's an NFL reporter.
Well, they made it.
An NFL reporter, and their jobs intersected as far as this went.
Right.
So,
and Vrabel made it news by lying. He made it bigger news by lying, in my mind, right? It's could have gone away. So anyway, that wraps it up. We got some great basketball this weekend. Check that out. Hockey, which we often don't get to talk about, but there's some big hockey series this weekend as well, if that's your thing too.
Flyers eliminated the Penguins in one of hockey's biggest rivalries, if not the biggest. kudos to Philadelphia Flyers.
You got a big series getting ready to wrap up with Buffalo and the Bruins. It'll be fun to see what happens there.
Yeah.
Jack, we got a boxing. We got one boxing note.
Very, very quick this weekend. David Benavidez, Sergio Ramirez. Big fight, light heavyweight / cruiserweight implications. That's going to be taking place in Las Vegas. And David Benavidez considered a monster. And also Neo Inoue is fighting Nakatani in what's called the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history. And that's going to be taking place Saturday morning Eastern time from Japan. Big fight. And
Rick mentioned earlier, I didn't put it up because we weren't talking about boxing, but he did.
Yeah, Rick, we're having on Monday Anthony Joshua's next opponent, Christian Pranga. He's going to be our guest. Anthony Joshua's next opponent in July.
All right. Good stuff. We'll catch you guys on Monday morning. Jack will be on tomorrow with the debate show with Brian and James, and I'll be back on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. You guys have a great weekend. Bye-bye.